Okay, so we are in John chapter 15. In a minute, I'm going to be reading verses 1 through 8. And Jesus, remember, everybody is in this what was called an upper room. They were in a house where they were having the what we know as the Last Supper, because Jesus was about to be arrested. He's going to be arrested very shortly. So in the last lesson, we learned that at the end, Jesus said, "Okay, let's go," but they haven't left yet. They're still there. You know how it is when you go to a dinner party, and everybody's getting ready to leave, and it takes forever to leave. You know how it goes, and that's exactly what was happening here. So for the next few chapters, they're basically going to be in the same spot, and Jesus is going to be talking more about him and his relationship with the Father, and what he's going to be expecting from his disciples. And in John chapter 15, what we're seeing here is that Jesus is going to first tell his disciples on his relationship to between him and them, and as we are disciples, his relationship between him and us. Then he's going to be teaching them what he wants to see in the relationship between the disciples, how we are to relate with each other. And then finally, at the end of the chapter, he's going to be showing them and us how we are to relate with the world. So he's going to be giving them an example of a grapevine. And back then, and even now, vineyards were very prominent in Israel. So there was grapes and olives, and these are grape and olive vineyards. Well, olives were growing trees, but these are grape vineyards. And grapes were very prominent in for food, and especially into making wine. So they understood the process of growing grapes. And even now, today, when you grow a grape, in order for it to grow properly, it has to grow up. And he's going to allude to that and how the grapes grow up a trellis, and then the gardening that goes behind it. So here we go, John chapter 15, verses 1 to 4. I'm going to read these first, and then I'm going to get into 5 through 8. I am the true vine, and my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes, so that it will be even more fruitful. You are already clean because of the word I have spoken to you. Remain in me, as I also remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself, it must remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me. So, what he's showing us here is that he is the vine. He's the vine throughout the vineyard, and all the branches grow up of him. The branches are the disciples, and we are to bear fruit. And that fruit, and I'm going to get into that a little bit later on, but the fruit that we bear is a couple of things. It's first and foremost, it's our relationship with him. It's how our relationship grows, and that trust that we have that he is going to direct our lives the way that our lives are meant to be directed. And what he's telling us here is that every branch that doesn't bear fruit, he lifts up and he prunes. So God the Father comes in and he lifts up the branch, and he takes, if you will, he takes his spiritual scissors and he starts clipping away all of the things in our lives that are useless. All of the things in our lives that are getting in the way of us growing with him and trusting him further. Because remember, throughout this whole book, I've been telling you the most important thing is our relationship with Jesus, and how we can trust him to run our lives and direct them in the way he wants us to go. So when he looks at us and we call on him to be our Savior, and we are expecting him to change us, he's going to come in and he's going to work all of the changes that need to be made. Now, here's a word of caution. Some of those changes are going to be painful. There's no question about it. Usually, those painful changes that he's making are because we don't need these things in our lives. On the other side, it's because he wants us to trust him, that he knows what he is best for our lives and how he's directing us. He's telling us here that we can only do this, we can only grow and improve with him. We must trust him. He is the vine, we are the branches, and the fruit that we produce is trusting him to lead our lives. So in a minute, I'm going to be reading verses 5 through 8. I'm sorry.